What is she doing on her birthday? It's there at the end. What is she doing?
Listening to Arlie play the piano.
Exactly right. So she's trying to take herself off away, so she's listening to Arlie play. Again, she can't play. Why can't she play? Why can't she just play herself? Why can't Billy Joe play the piano? Perez. Yes, Mr. Perez.
She burnt her finger or hands or something?
Yeah, you're not Mr. Perez, but thank you, Mr. Diaz. All right, next chapter. Roots. President Roosevelt tells us to plant trees. And again, yesterday when I was talking to you guys about some of you guys got far enough where you can kind of see the effects of the dust storm. So if you plant trees, trees allow the other type of vegetation to stay in the ground because the roots pull everything to it. So President Roosevelt tells us to plant trees. Trees will break the wind. He says trees will end the drought. The animals can take shelter there. Children can take shelter. Trees have roots, he says. They hold on to the land. That's good advice, but I'm not sure he understands the problem. Trees have never been at home here. They're just not meant to be here. Maybe none of us are meant to be here. On the prairie grass and the hawks. My father will stay no matter what. He's stubborn as sod. That's a simile. He and the land have a hold on each other. That's personification. What about me? So what is she thinking about at the end? What is she considering? What is she thinking about at the very end of this here? He and the land have a hold on each other, but what about me? What does that mean? What is that saying at the very end? What does that mean? Anybody have any idea? Yeah, exactly, right? So she's contemplating leaving, right? So she's like, he's like stuck on this idea, I gotta stay here in this awful situation. She's obviously considering maybe I don't want to be here. Empty spaces. I don't know my father anymore. He sits across from me. He looks like my father. He chews his food like my father. He brushes his dusty hair back like my father. But he's a stranger. I'm awkward with him and irritated, and I want to be alone, but I'm terrified of being alone. We're both changing. We're shifting to fill in the empty spaces left by Ma. I keep my raw and stinging hands behind my back when he comes near, because he stares when he sees them. Right, so she's hiding her what? What is she hiding here? What is she hiding?
She's hiding her hands.
Yeah, she's hiding her hands. Right, so probably what's going on here is every time he sees her hands, it reminds him of his wife and probably depresses him, right? So she's hiding her hands from him.
Yeah.
The hole. The heat from the cook stove hurts my burns. And the salt, the water, and the dust hurt too. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever had a cut before, but if you put salt on a cut, it hurts like crazy. And a lot of these things will hurt a cut if you have one. I spend all of my time in pain. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been burned before. I burned myself a few times, but like burns hurt really bad. And like if you get a more severe burn, I'm assuming it gets even worse. Question,
Yeah,
Reem?
Mr. Well, one of my aunts, she makes empanadas, right?
Yeah.
And she needs to use a lot of oil to fry them.
Yeah.
And one time she accidentally spilled it all over herself.
Oof, yeah. So you gotta be super careful. Yeah. Grease fires are one of the more bigger causes of actual fires in houses. So you gotta be super careful. And that oil is super hot too, especially if you're cooking empanadas. You have to be very careful. All right, so The heat from the cook stove hurts my burns, the salt, the water, and the dust hurt too. I spend all my time in pain, and my father spends his time outside of the house, digging a hole 40 feet by 60 feet, 6 feet deep. So this is a pretty big hole he's digging. I think he's digging the pond to feed off the windmill, the one Ma wanted, but he doesn't say. He just digs. He sends me to the train yards to gather boards that were once boxcars, but are now junk. I bring them back, careful of the scabs and the raw sore on my bare hands. I don't know what he needs boards for, he doesn't tell me. When he's not in the hole digging, he works on the windmill, replacing the parts that kept it from turning. So what is the father building? What is the father building? What is he doing? Yeah. Well, he's using boards. Boards just mean wood. So he's got wood, but he's making something. What is he making?
A wishing well?
Not a well. He actually is making what seems to be a pond.
A pond.
Yeah, why is he making the pond? You gotta think back about
Because that's what her mother wanted.
Yeah, that's what the mother wanted, right? So it's almost like it's his last thing that he can do, right? It's almost for her. He's like, he argued with her. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. And now she's dead, and now he's doing it, right? People stop by and watch.
Wait, mister, did the baby survive
No.
when the mother died?
Yeah, we just read that part. The aunt came to pick up the baby, and the baby was dead. So the baby didn't make it through. I don't know if you were in the bathroom or something, but we read that already. People stop by and watch. They think my father's crazy, digging such a big hole. I think he's crazy too. The water will seep back in the earth. It'll never stay put in any old pond. But my father's thought it through, and he's digging anyway. I think to talk to Ma about it, and then I remember. I can almost forgive him for taking Ma's money. I can almost forgive him for his night and guyman getting drunk. But as long as I live, no matter how big a hole he digs, I can't forgive him that pail of kerosene left by the side of the stove. Right, so again, she's fixated on that. Like, he left that there. She's blaming him. I'm sure in his mind he blames her, right? So there's this kind of awful relationship that's going on between the two where they're blaming each other. Kilauea, that's probably how you pronounce that. A volcano erupted in Hawaii. Kilauea. It threw huge chunks into the air. The ground shook, and smoke choked everything in its path. Sounds a little like a dust storm. Boxes. In my closet are 2 boxes. The gatherings of my life. Papers, school drawings, a broken hairpin, a dress from my baby days, my first lock of hair, a tiny basket woven from prairie grass, a doll with a china head, a pink ball, 3 dozen marbles, a fan from Baxter's funeral home, my baby teeth in a glass jar, a torn map of the world, 2 candy wrappers, 1,000 things that I haven't looked at in years. I kept promising Ma to go through the boxes and get rid of what I didn't need, but I never got to it, and now my hands hurt, and I haven't got the heart. Alright, so we are going to stop here.